Think your least favorite sitcom character is just mildly annoying? Think again. Television has given us some of the most insufferable, toxic, and downright terrible personalities ever committed to screen, and the worst part is, they were supposed to be funny. From narcissistic control freaks to manipulative nice guys, these characters pushed audiences to their breaking point, yet somehow kept showing up week after week. Here are 15 unbelievably awful personalities in sitcom history. Ross Geller's toxic jealousy and control. Ross Geller from Friends stands as one of television's most problematic protagonists, despite being framed as the lovable, romantic lead. His treatment of women, particularly Rachel, reveals patterns of possessive and controlling behavior that modern audiences find deeply troubling. When Rachel lands her dream job at Bloomingdale's, Ross responds with overwhelming jealousy, showing up at her workplace with flowers, love notes, and even hiring a barbershop quartet to interrupt her workday. His insecurity manifests as constant surveillance and undermining of her professional success. The infamous debate over whether they were on a break obscures a larger pattern. Ross consistently dismisses Rachel's boundaries, hides phone messages from men who call for her, and sabotages her opportunities when they conflict with his desires. His behavior extends beyond Rachel. When his son Ben wants to play with a Barbie doll, Ross freaks out and tries to force masculine toys on him instead. He refuses to hire a perfectly qualified male nanny solely because of the candidate's gender. He even refuses to have his marriage to Rachel annulled because he's embarrassed about being divorced 3 times, prioritizing his ego over her autonomy. Psychology experts today recognize Ross's behavior as textbook emotional manipulation masked by supposed romanticism. Sheldon Cooper's insufferable superiority complex. Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory represents everything wrong with the brilliant but socially inept character archetype. His arrogance transforms what could be endearing quirks into insufferable personality traits that make viewers question why anyone tolerates him. Sheldon treats his roommate Leonard like a servant rather than a friend, forcing him to sign a detailed roommate agreement that controls everything from thermostat settings to emergency preparedness drills. He dictates bathroom schedules, demands to be driven everywhere despite having no license himself, and shows zero appreciation for the constant accommodations everyone makes for his rigid routines. His supposed superior intellect becomes a weapon to belittle everyone around him. He mocks his friends' careers, dismisses their accomplishments, and constantly reminds them of his academic superiority. When Amy achieves recognition for her research, Sheldon initially responds with jealousy and disrespect rather than support. His behavior crosses into genuinely disturbing territory when he sneaks into Penny's apartment at night to clean it without permission, an invasion of privacy that in reality would warrant police involvement. While the show occasionally portrays Sheldon's growth, his fundamental selfishness remains consistent. He manipulates situations to always get his way, throws tantrums when things don't go according to his plans, and expects everyone to revolve around his needs while contributing nothing in return. Newman's petty schemes and gleeful malevolence. Newman from Seinfeld epitomizes the scheming neighbor archetype taken to its most irritating extreme. His relationship with Jerry exists as pure, unmotivated antagonism. Jerry Seinfeld himself admitted there was no real reason for the hatred, it was just fun to hate Newman. But Newman's awfulness extends far beyond his rivalry with Jerry. As a postal worker, he takes pride in his position of minor authority while simultaneously abusing it at every opportunity. He reads other people's mail, changes his delivery routes for personal gain, and proudly declares that when you control the mail, you control information. His schemes range from petty to borderline criminal. He attracts fleas to Jerry's apartment building, conspires with Kramer on elaborate money-making plots that always end in disaster, and consistently makes everyone's life more difficult purely for his own amusement. What makes Newman particularly insufferable is his sinister enjoyment of others' misfortune. He speaks in a humorously menacing tone, especially to Jerry, and his iconic greeting of "Hello, Jerry" drips with false joviality that barely conceals his malicious intent. Jerry describes him as pure evil on multiple occasions, and Knight's portrayal earned Newman a spot on TV Guide's list of the 60 nastiest villains of all time. Despite being capable of occasional civility with Kramer, Newman consistently proves himself to be exploitative, morally bankrupt, and delighted by his own terrible behavior. Pierce Hawthorne's bigotry and desperate attention-seeking Pierce Hawthorne from Community stands out as one of sitcom's most deliberately awful characters. The elderly heir to the Hawthorne wife's fortune embodies every negative stereotype about out-of-touch older generations, amplified to uncomfortable extremes. Pierce's racism, sexism, and homophobia aren't played for laughs so much as they highlight his fundamental awfulness. He makes constant offensive comments about every member of the study group, particularly targeting Troy with racist assumptions and the women with misogynistic views. His homophobia leads him to incorrectly assume both Britta and Jeff are gay, going so far as to prepare a speech for Jeff's coming out that never happens. Beyond his bigotry, Pierce's desperate need for attention drives him to increasingly antagonistic behavior. When excluded from a Dungeons & Dragons game meant to help a suicidal student, Pierce crashes the session as the villain, actively trying to destroy the therapeutic purpose. He fakes a heart attack to manipulate his friends, bribes Annie to make him the star of an anti-drug performance, and consistently sabotages group harmony whenever he feels left out. His jealousy of Jeff's youth and popularity manifests as petty schemes and put-downs. The show's behind-the-scenes tension between actor Chevy Chase and creator Dan Harmon reportedly influenced Pierce's increasingly terrible portrayal, blurring the line between character and performer in ways that made Pierce even more uncomfortable to watch. Ted Mosby's nice guy manipulation. Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother exemplifies the toxic nice guy persona wrapped in romantic comedy trappings. While positioned as a hopeless romantic searching for true love, Ted's behavior reveals patterns of manipulation, entitlement, and disrespect that make him one of television's most problematic protagonists. His pursuit of Robin borders on harassment. When she initially rejects him, Ted refuses to accept it, instead performing elaborate gestures like a rain dance to prevent her from going on a work trip with another man. He throws multiple parties hoping she'll attend, breaks into her apartment with an orchestra, and generally refuses to respect her clearly stated boundaries. The show frames this as romantic persistence, but it's actually a refusal to accept consent. Even the show's creators acknowledged making Ted the villain in early episodes. Ted's treatment of the women he dates is consistently terrible. He breaks up with Natalie on her birthday via answering machine, then tracks her down years later only to dump her again on another birthday. He cheats on his long-distance girlfriend Victoria with Robin. He goes on a blind date with a woman he's already dated but completely forgot about. He ruins Victoria's wedding day by convincing her to run away with him, then refuses to stop seeing Robin when she asks. Perhaps most egregiously, the entire 9-season story turns out to be Ted asking his children's permission to date Aunt Robin shortly after their mother's death, revealing the whole narrative as an extended manipulation. Alan Harper's pathetic mooching and hypocrisy. Alan Harper from 2.5 Men transforms the sympathetic down-on-his-luck character into something far more insufferable through his passive-aggressive behavior and shameless mooching. After asking to stay with his brother Charlie temporarily during a divorce, Alan never leaves, becoming a permanent fixture who contributes virtually nothing. His passivity masks deeply manipulative behavior. Alan plays the victim constantly, whining about his circumstances while making zero effort to improve them. Despite having a relatively successful chiropractic career, he leeches off Charlie for everything from housing to food to entertainment. His cheap nature becomes legendary, avoiding paying for anything whenever possible and taking advantage of anyone willing to help him. What makes Alan particularly awful is his massive hypocrisy. He judges Charlie constantly for his lifestyle choices while benefiting from them daily. He criticizes Charlie's treatment of women while being equally terrible in relationships, just in more passive ways. As a father, he's utterly inadequate. He fails to provide Jake with proper role models, instead exposing him to Charlie's debauched lifestyle while claiming moral superiority. He's simultaneously needy and judgmental, weak and manipulative, playing both the martyr and the mooch. His redeeming qualities are practically non-existent. Unlike Charlie, who owns his flaws, Alan presents himself as a good person while behaving terribly. His passivity and self-pity make him an anchor dragging down everyone around him, yet he feels entitled to their support while offering nothing in return. Carrie Bradshaw's self-absorbed privilege. Carrie Bradshaw from Sex and the City presents herself as a thoughtful observer of modern relationships, but her behavior reveals a self-absorbed narcissist whose privilege blinds her to reality. Her writing column, which serves as the show's narrative voice, frequently features observations that are shallow, obvious, or outright ridiculous. She treats her enormous apartment as a birthright despite being a freelance columnist, never acknowledging the implausibility of her lifestyle. Carrie's relationships expose her emotional instability and inability to recognize red flags or respect boundaries. She cycles through boyfriends with dizzying speed, creating drama wherever she goes. Her treatment of Aiden stands out as particularly awful. After cheating on him with Big, she begs for another chance, only to treat him terribly once he agrees. She refuses to marry him despite his commitment, then gets upset when he's hesitant to rush back into proposals. Her financial irresponsibility reaches staggering levels when she admits to spending $40,000 on shoes while claiming she can't afford to buy her apartment. Rather than acknowledging this as a personal failing, she acts victimized by her circumstances. When her friends offer to help, she's ungrateful and entitled. Carrie never truly matures throughout the series. She returns in, and just like that, as if no time has passed, still making everything about herself, still failing to understand how privileged and out of touch she appears. Her overly dramatic reactions to minor setbacks clash jarringly with her obliviousness to real problems. Gina Linetti's toxic bullying without consequences. Gina Linetti from Brooklyn Nine-Nine divides audiences sharply between those who find her hilarious and those who find her unbearable. The latter group recognizes that Gina represents a character type that's deeply problematic, someone who is completely toxic, but whom the story constantly frames as being in the right. Her treatment of Amy borders on workplace harassment. She mocks Amy constantly, undermines her work, and creates a hostile environment that would realistically result in HR complaints and disciplinary action. The show plays this as comedy, but there's no comeuppance, no moment where Gina recognizes her behavior as wrong. She's simply allowed to bully Amy without consequence. Gina's narcissism knows no bounds. She believes herself superior to everyone around her, treats her coworkers with contempt, and contributes minimally to actual work while demanding recognition and special treatment. Her role as the civilian administrator becomes an excuse for her to do essentially nothing while mocking the actual police officers who risk their lives. Her obsession with social media and her own perceived celebrity status makes her insufferable to watch. She documents everything for her online persona, treats real-life situations as content opportunities, and shows zero empathy for anyone else's problems unless they somehow relate back to her. The writers clearly intended Gina as a lovable weirdo, but the execution creates a character who is simply mean without the self-awareness to recognize it or the character development to change. Robert Barone's perpetual victim complex. Robert Barone from Everybody Loves Raymond personifies the bitter older sibling whose jealousy and insecurity define his entire personality. His chronic resentment of his younger brother Ray permeates every interaction, making him exhausting to watch despite being framed as comic relief. Robert's defining trait is living in Ray's shadow and never letting anyone forget it. His sarcastic quips and passive-aggressive behavior turn family gatherings into uncomfortable exercises in secondhand embarrassment. Rather than working to improve his own life or find his own path, Robert obsesses over Ray's success and privileges. His self-pity becomes all-consuming. He complains constantly about his personal and professional struggles, his lack of romantic success, and how unfairly life has treated him. When things do go well for him, he finds new grievances to nurse. His relationship with his parents feeds his victim complex. Their obvious favoritism toward Ray is real, but Robert uses it as an excuse for all his failures rather than moving past it. His grumbling and need to compete with or one-up his brother makes simple family interactions tense and uncomfortable. The show wants viewers to sympathize with Robert as the overlooked son, but his refusal to move on or take responsibility for his own happiness makes him increasingly difficult to like. He had opportunities for growth, moments where he could have chosen to let go of his bitterness, but he consistently returns to his familiar role as the aggrieved older brother who can't escape Ray's shadow because he won't stop staring at it. Urkel's show hijacking annoyance. Steve Urkel from Family Matters represents one of television's most infamous examples of a character becoming so popular that they completely overtake a show's original premise. What began as a one-off appearance by the nerdy neighbor transformed into Urkel, dominating every episode, fundamentally changing the show's DNA. His catchphrases, particularly "Did I do that?" became cultural phenomena, but the character himself was intentionally annoying, yet somehow this translated to popularity that gave him increasing screen time. Urkel's behavior is genuinely problematic when examined closely. His obsessive pursuit of Laura borders on stalking. He refuses to accept her repeated rejections, constantly shows up uninvited, and creates dangerous situations with his inventions that frequently destroy property or endanger people. The show frames this as endearing persistence, but it's actually a refusal to respect boundaries taken to absurd extremes. His neediness and inability to take hints make every scene he's in uncomfortable. His awkwardness isn't charming, it's grating. His voice, mannerisms, and constant presence overwhelm whatever storyline the episode attempted to pursue. The transformation episodes where he becomes the cool Stefan only emphasize how insufferable regular Urkel is by comparison. The worst part is how completely he hijacked Family Matters from the Winslow's family story to become the Urkel show. Original cast members were sidelined or written off to make room for more Urkel antics, fundamentally betraying the show's original premise and the audience who came for the Winslow family dynamics. Kimmy Gibbler's oblivious intrusiveness. Kimmy Gibbler from Full House embodies the annoying neighbor trope without any of the charm that might make such a character bearable. Her neediness surpasses simple loneliness, becoming an inability or refusal to recognize when she's unwanted. Her awkwardness generates not sympathy, but second-hand embarrassment that makes viewers cringe. Kimmy's defining trait is her complete obliviousness to social cues. She doesn't recognize when people want her to leave, when her jokes fall flat, or when her presence is making situations worse. This isn't portrayed as a symptom of any particular condition that might generate empathy, but simply as Kimmy being Kimmy. The Tanner family tolerates her, but barely, and their annoyance mirrors the audience's feelings. Her running gags center on her being smelly, weird, and generally unpleasant to be around. The joke that her shoes clear rooms becomes tiresome after the first dozen times. Her strange behavior and off-putting mannerisms are supposed to be funny, but mostly they're just uncomfortable to watch. What makes Kimmy particularly frustrating is that she never learns or grows. Season after season, she remains the same intrusive, boundary-crossing neighbor who can't take a hint. The show makes weak attempts to give her depth or explain her behavior through her home life, but these feel more like excuses than character development. In Fuller House, adult Kimmy somehow becomes worse as the show tries to frame her immaturity and poor decision-making as quirky rather than concerning for a woman her age. Screech's exhausting cluelessness. Screech Powers from Saved by the Bell takes the nerdy sidekick archetype and amplifies every annoying trait to unbearable levels. His aloofness and cluelessness produce occasional laughs, but mostly generate exhaustion as he operates at full quirk mode in every scene, never turning it down or showing any other dimension. His obsessive pursuit of Lisa mirrors problematic patterns seen in other sitcom characters, but played for even broader comedy. He refuses to accept her lack of interest, creating uncomfortable situations that the show frames as harmless nerd behavior, but which actually demonstrate a complete disregard for consent or boundaries. Lisa's increasingly exasperated rejections become a running joke rather than a signal that Screech should back off. The character's incompetence reaches absurd levels. Example plots involving Screech include promising to deliver baller volleyball players, but instead showing up with an 85-year-old woman, a 4-year-old girl he bribed with a lollipop, and a skinny guy nicknamed Big Pete. These aren't clever subversions. They're just Screech being useless while somehow maintaining his role in the friend group. His voice, mannerisms, and constant presence in every scheme wear thin quickly. Unlike characters who are nerdy but competent in their own way, Screech is simply incompetent at everything. His attempts to help usually make situations worse, yet he never faces real consequences or shows growth. The actor Dustin Diamond's later real-life controversies added an unfortunate retroactive layer to the character, making Screech even harder to watch in reruns.